Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and today I want to talk to you guys a bit about the Shadowlands pre-patch class changes that were posted today on Wowhead. I guess, yeah, it's 11:45 at night. It's not tomorrow. It's still today, this afternoon. So, a decent bit of these changes were actually posted like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, but there's also some mixed in here that we haven't seen before. It's really odd and awkward. So, I want to take a little bit of time today and just talk about each change individually. There's some for Affliction, some for Demo. I don't believe Destro really got any, but at the same time, we'll look over again and go from there. Any weak auras, profiles, or add-ons you see here are indeed available to you guys for free on my Twitch. If you want to swing by, hang out, answer any questions, grab them anytime. So, getting right into this, the first change I want to talk about here, Fel Domination now applies, or now removes the shard cost to your summon pet. So, I'm on beta right now. The actual tooltip has still not been updated for this, but you can see I pop Fel Domination, get a pet out. It's free. I don't know when this is going to happen, but this was a change that was made probably, I don't know, a month ago or so. So it's helpful in the end. I think 6-second pet summons are still way too restrictive, but we've been giving feedback on that since quite literally the first alpha build, and it's been radio silence. So at this point, Fel Domination, I guess, is something. It's better than nothing. Yeah, and the zero shard cost effect is also nice, I suppose. Number 2 is Curse of Exhaustion's duration has been increased to 12 seconds, was 8 seconds. This is actually a pretty solid quality of life change. I believe this happened about 2 weeks ago, and the tooltip has indeed been updated. 8 seconds felt a little slow when it came to it just felt a bit slow. So a 50-ish% increase is solid. I think it's going to matter, and it's solid. It felt awkward in PvE at times, trying to slow mobs and having to reapply exhaustion every, few seconds in between redotting things or casting an incinerator or chaos bolt. It felt awkward. So the 8 to 12 move, I think, is a solid idea. Players and enemies afflicted with Howl of Terror can now take more damage before the ability is canceled. So I believe this is one of the changes that was undocumented. Now, I don't think we really know to what extent this actually has been buffed, but at the same time, there is a conduit that also, I believe it's Shade of Terror. Your fear enemies, it's weird wording, can withstand 100% more damage before breaking. So I don't know what this was changed to, but this conduit on top of that change, I believe it only applies to actual fear, not Howl of Terror. But regardless, this change could mean a decent bit. I don't think we're going back to Burning Crusade days of perma-fear just dotting and killing everybody, but I haven't seen this posted anywhere until today, so hey, solid change. I'll take it. The Dark Pact spell power bonus was indeed added, I believe, last week, if not 2 weeks ago. Dark Pact actually provides a pretty substantial shield. So let me swap to this briefly here. Dark Pact. Let me do this. So, first of all, I will say I think Dark Pact is criminally underplayed in progression in a lot of settings. Yeah, Burning Rush is really, really good, but if Burning Rush is not an option on a lot of fights, or on certain fights, whatever fight you're doing, like Blackwater Behemoth, or a room where there's not a lot of movement required, like Mount or Lady Ashvane in a sense, Dark Pact, I feel, quite often is better than Demon Skin. Because you have that short 1-minute cooldown that you can use when this large, damage burst effect, whatever's coming out. You can save your pact for that and hold UR for later. I think it's criminally underplayed. But regardless of that, Dark Pact is giving a pretty substantial amount of, a pretty substantial shield. So we pop it, sack 20% of your current health, the shield for 250 of the sacrifice health, plus an additional 1,774. Usable while suffering from control impairing effects. Let's just pop this. I have 35,000 health. I have a shield for 18,000 health, or I guess damage. That's what, 55-ish% of my health pool. It's actually really big, and you're only sacking what, like 7k health. It's certainly worth it. Now, in certain settings, it might be worth it. I mean, depending on what you're doing. Burning Rush is still very good, don't get me wrong. Having that permanent movement speed with a very small amount of health being sacrificed is exceptionally strong in rating. But when you can't use Rush effectively, Dark Pact looks really good. And even on certain fights where Rush is solid, Dark Pact might end up seeing more play due to it being such a short cooldown and such a large shield. Okay, so getting into Affliction, and as we can see here, Demonology, spoilers ahead, boys, there's no Destro changes. Still, fingers crossed for aura modifiers at this point, because we could probably use some help. Regardless, Affliction. So the first thing here, Shadow Bolt damage has been increased by 13%. Now, this does not affect Drain Soul, from what I've seen. It's only Shadow Bolt. So keep that in mind. Number one. Number two, this is not a buff to Shadow Bolt on top of last week's damage amp. This is actually a change from, this is essentially the change from last week. It was just worded differently. So I had the post from, I guess like what, early November when it was changed. Shadow Bolt's actual value was increased from 34.5 to 39% spell power. That's 13%. They worded it differently, same thing. So in the end, like, if you're not playing Drain Soul, you're playing either Inevitable Demise or Nightfall. Now, hey, this, I guess, essentially does buff Nightfall's like damage amp a bit more and make it maybe a tiny bit more competitive, but for the most part, when it comes to Mythic Plus, you're playing Drain Soul because of shard sniping and just the periodic channeled effect it gives versus trying to hard cast a Shadow Bolt with travel time, everything else. Even when it comes to raiding and, you know, just more, I guess, single target based PvE, Drain Soul is still exceptionally strong, and if it's paired with certain other execute effects like Malefic Wrath Legendary, or if you're still playing a Necrolord at this point for whatever reason after they were gutted 18 times, there's also a damage amp there. So, but for the most part though, Shadow Bolt does not make up a very large portion of your damage as far as Affliction is concerned. It's a very minor buff, but it came out a week ago, and nobody was exceptionally really happy about it. It's fine. It's okay. We'll take it, but it's not really the buff we need. Inevitable Demise can no longer be dispelled. I have no idea if this is new or not. I don't PvP a whole lot, unfortunately. I want to get into it. I have no idea if this is new or not. This is like a month and a half old. Like, it's really odd because, like I said, some of these changes were mentioned like recently, some weren't at all. This is like a month and a half old. We've had Rapid Contagion maybe for 2 months at this point. So it's here, it's there. This is actually not working currently in it's not there. It's not a talent in BFA as of yet. It's here in Shadowlands. I'm on beta, but it's here. I don't know why it's listed like this. Demon armor for Affliction Warlocks now increases armor by 150%, was 90%. So it is indeed here on beta. I feel like I had heard something about this before, but I can't really find any documentation on it. One of the big things I had heard about Affliction in PvP was that it's pretty strong, but it's really, really squishy. So hopefully the demon armor changes help combat just the overall squishiness of Afflock in PvP. But then again, you know, we'll see where that goes. So it's not that Affliction didn't really get much. It just seems that it's more, well, I guess the only real change they got is sort of based around PvP with demon armor. Once again, I'm not sure about the ID change. Hey, I mean, it's probably nice quality of life change regardless. But the real changes here are actually to demonology. So starting off, Axe Toss now stuns and interrupts a target. It's the same as it was changed a month ago. It interrupts it first, then stuns after the interrupt. The actual travel time was reduced. It no longer arcs like this. It's just in a straight line. It's fast. So Axe Toss, good to go. Nothing else changed there. It interrupts. We're fine. Shadow Bolt's damage increased by 13%. So this is once again the same as what happened with Affliction, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. It's very minor. And they shifted like the Necrolord build away from buffing Shadow Bolt to now Demon Bolt. So there's not really any kind of damage amps here, I guess. I suppose Sack Soul sort of is one in a sense, but Sack Soul is the worst talent out of all three of these in this row. Probably by a decent bit. Well, at this point, probably. But we'll get to that. So this change here. Dreadstalker's attack power has been increased by 20%. Dreadstalker's Dread Bite and Dread Lash damage has been reduced by 10%. I don't know what the internal test team is doing. Like, not in a bad way. I just don't know why they're so set against nerfing this build. Every time they nerf the Conduit, they nerf from the Shadows, they nerf Dread Lash. Okay, I guess they buffed this, but they keep nerfing it over and over. Like, it's a good build. The Dread Lash from the Shadows, Carnivorous Dreadstalker's build, like the big dog build. It's fun, it's cool, but is it OP? No. Like, it's not. I don't know why they keep targeting nerfs, like, at the actual build itself. This Conduit, I believe, was like 7% initially at rank 1. This is like rank 5 now, and it's been nerfed by a lot. I believe rank 1 before the nerf was higher percentage-wise than the max rank that you can have now. Now, I mean, I will say, when we played with the Conduit before the nerf at rank 1, it seemed like you were getting a lot of procs, or I guess reprocs of Dread Bite. And for those of you who aren't familiar, the Conduit gives your dogs, your Dreadstalkers, a chance to, when they're melee attacks, a chance to cast additional Dread Bite. They only cast Dread Bite when they first jump into combat. The first thing they do, they Dread Bite. The thing here, though, From the shadow, it says Dreadbite causes the target to take 20% additional Shadow Flame damage for the next 12 seconds. Shadow Flame damage is Demon Bolt, Implosion, Hand of Gul'dan splash damage. It's a lot of what your core toolkit is. More so, I mean, AoE and single target. Like, Demon Bolt is, you know, a single target base spell. Implosion is huge AoE. And Hand of Gul'dan is what generates your imps, which deal damage. But the splash damage is Shadow Flame. So, and it hits every target. So it can be a single target AoE thing. It's nice. But the big thing here is that when your Dreadstalkers charge into battle, their Dreadbite attack now hits all targets within 8 yards and deals 25% more damage. This is worded a bit odd. Interesting. Okay, sorry about that. Let's go take 2 here. My internet died in the middle of recording. Anyways, so the thing with Dreadlash is that it's not just whenever they charge into battle. If you're playing the actual Carnivorous Stalker's Conduit, it is whenever their melee procs a Dreadbite, it will AoE. AoEing a Dreadbite with Dreadlash will apply from the shadows. So I'm not really sure as to why they continually are nerfing this build over and over. I mean, I've put videos on YouTube of runs through dungeons, and the damage is okay. It's probably overall similar to what Demo does in keys, like the normal build of like Demonic Strength or Bombers and Calling and Consumption. But it's not like OP. Guess what's twice as good? A Frost Mage or a Marksman Hunter or half the classes in the game. It's not OP or anything. I don't really know why they want to keep nerfing this build over and over, but maybe they know something we don't know. I'm not really sure. The 20% attack power buff the Dreadstalkers is probably there to like compensate for the single target loss, I guess, from Dreadbite, but this might end up being an actual buff to single target. I don't really know. I didn't care enough to do the math. It's there, more or less. They nerfed the big dog build. So the big thing here, though, the big change here, the final one, minions spawned from Nether Portal have had their attack power increased by 15%. This is not the buff that we got 3 months ago to Nether Portal and Inner Demons. This is a buff that might have happened last week that was undocumented. I don't know why it would not be I don't know why it would be undocumented, but we have it. So additionally, Vicious Hellhounds, Void Terrors, Wrath Guards, and Darkhounds spawned from Nether Portal can now charge enemies. So I believe these are all the mobs that are melee based. You have like the bats that spawn that can attack from range. The same goes for the eyes of Gul'dan that spawn. So it's interesting because it appears that they realize and are saying, hey, Nether Portal is probably undertuned. It needs a buff. The actual like ability of these charging into combat does make a bit of a difference. They'll end up getting probably a bit more actual raw damage out, jumping into combat, jumping at the target instead of having to actually run to it. The actual attack power increase here is interesting. I can show you what, like, I guess a semi-normal opener with Nether Portal looks like, and then we can compare one to, I suppose, Demonic Consumption. So let's do this. We're playing Nether Portal, Grimoire Felguard, Vile Fiend, Demonic Calling, and Demonic Strength. Now, I'm actually going to... It's fine. I was going to change off Demonic Calling because there's anti-synergy with Nether Portal, getting an instant, like a free Call Dreadstalkers cast, but it's fine. We'll just make it work. So, we're going to open here. I want to look at my overall burst damage in the end. We'll go into a portal. We go Grimoire, Vile Fiend. We go Dogs. I'm going to pop these haste trinkets early, come lazy. It's fine, whatever. Hand, Shadowbolt hand, Shadowbolt hand, Tyrant, and we can go hand and maybe one more hand here, maybe? At the very end, we'll go Demonic Strength, we'll go here. And for the most part, we maintain normal rotation. Now, we're at 5.4k burst-ish, maybe a little higher with this dog cast, like 5.4, 5.6, 5.8, give or take. It's not bad. We're playing the Synergy Legendary as well. I think we hit 6k right there. Was that 6k? I couldn't tell. You guys can see. Like 5.8-ish. It's not terrible. But like I said, if you notice, you can see the actual mobs that are coming out of the Nether Portal jumping into combat. They're like a weird purple animation. Let me actually just show you guys what it looks like one more time in case you missed it here and we're like focused on the actual damage meters. By the way, before we show the animation here, I just want you guys to appreciate the damage breakdown here. Look at how many different abilities we have from one Nether Portal. We have, I guess, 31-ish hitting this one target. It's so cool. Wrath Guards, Urzuls, Vile Fiends, Void Terrors. It's actually really cool. Personally, I like Nether Portal, but it's just not good tuning-wise. Or I guess was. We'll get to that. So like I said, I'm going to put the Nether Portal down. We're not going to have like an optimal opener here, but we're just going to go Portal, So watch the little like purple blob spawn over. What, like you see a charge in there? Charge. Charge. I guess it's actually like the purple blob. We'll go hand there. Like they actually charge in, which is cool, and it probably will end up getting them a bit more damage out before they expire. Plus, it's just strong. It's cool. But at the same time, let's take a look at how Demonic Consumption stacks up against Nether Portal, and then talk a bit about how I feel this buff, what this buff does for Demo, if it does anything really at all. So this is the actual decon build. The only thing that really changes here is actually Demonic Consumption. We just swap off Nether Portal, and well, we're gonna go from there. So we're gonna open up similar to how we did Portal. We're just gonna go Bolt. We're gonna go Grimoire. Vile Fiend, Dogs. I'm gonna pop Haste Trinket and thing now. I'm being a little lazy. It's fine. I popped them at about the same time last time. We'll build the 5 shards. We'll go double hand here. Double hand into a Tyrant, catch our extensions. Demonic Strength, put up our Tithe. And here we go. Watch the burst damage though. Watch what we burst to here with Consumption. We're at 5.3, 5.5, 5.7, over 6k right there with Dogs. 6k, give or take a bit. I guess I had a... no, there wasn't a Pelagos proc there actually, but 6.1k. Like, the thing is, Consumption is a 1.5 minute cooldown, basically, because it's tied to your Tyrant. And Nether Portal is a 3-minute cooldown. That's also awkward when you're playing Grimoire, because it's a 2-minute cooldown with your Tyrant being a 1.5 minutes. So it just makes timing really awkward. And even like if timing was a bit more appropriate, like Grimoire was a 1.5 minutes and things weren't as awkward, the actual damage amp here, or the actual damage, is still, in my opinion, just not competitive, or competitive enough with Demonic Consumption. Like, Decon gives you a very, very strong and unique damage profile on a 1.5 minute cooldown. I mean, Demon Fire is a massive part of your damage. If you scroll back and look at the damage breakdown from Nether Portal, Demon Fire is probably down here because you have so many pets out and you're not playing Demonic Consumption. But having such a strong damage profile on a 1.5 minute cooldown compared to 3, and the 3-minute one also having you hold your Grimoire, just making it awkward, it's just really odd. Now, I think a lot of that revolves around Demonic Consumption just being a bit too strong in a sense. One of my main complaints, or I guess points of feedback about Demonology over the course of Alpha into Beta, is that when you have your Tyrant with Demonic Consumption, your damage is really, really good. Your burst is really strong single target wise. But when you don't have it, your damage is really bad. Like, your damage is pretty bad. You're probably one of the lowest DPS in the raid when you don't have your Tyrant. The thing is, your Tyrant's on a short cooldown, so it sort of makes up for it in a sense. Demonology's not in the best spot, single target. But it probably, like, one of the issues with Decon is that it pigeonholes you into playing Summon Vile Fiend in Grimoire Felguard due to the changes they made. It's no longer based off of the amount of imps you have out. It doesn't kill your imps. It extends them now and just sucks the health from every single pet you have out, being Vile Fiend and Felguard and imps and dogs. So the thing is, like, your Felguard has a decent bit. Your Grimoire Felguard has, you know, your main one has 26.5k. The Grimoire one has the same. If I pull an imp out here, or a couple, they have, like, I don't know how much health they have. 5,000. I think Dreadstalkers had like 16,000 or so. I mean, I don't know. It could be less. Let's just see. They have 14,000. I was sort of close. So the main Grimoire has 26.5. Your pet has 26.5. You pull out the Vile Fiend, finally. It also has 26.5. So Demonic Consumption just pigeonholes you into playing this build. Like, you're not going to get anywhere near the power level of Vile Fiend or Felguard through like Soul Strike or FTS or Soul Conduit or Inner Demons when playing Consumption. You're just not. Now, like, there are a few ways that this can be changed. In the end, we're at the end of beta. The beta build has been marked as release, but the thing that scares me is that Vile Fiend and Felguard are hands down the choices here. And with them being a part of that and not having it be just like, let's say it siphons health from just imps and Dreadstalkers, and maybe you up the damage, or up the spell power modifier, or whatever. These talents are going to be the generic cookie cutter go-to talents at this point. Like, even with the Portal buffs, Portal was buffed by 15%. It was buffed by 21%, I believe, like, I don't know, a few months ago. It's been buffed by like 40%. And it's still not good enough. Like, That's what I'm concerned about. Let's not even get talking about Sack Souls here. I do think Demonology just probably needs like a bit of an aura buff in the first place. I talked about buffing like Wild Imp, Fell Firebolt damage, but in the end, that's not going to be as strong in Mythic Plus, which we might need some help there too, comparatively to single target. So I think a bit of an aura buff is probably the best way they could help change Demonology, or I guess one of the ways they could buff Demonology's overall damage, but certainly addressing Decon and just the insane power increase it gets from Grimoire and Vile Fiend, it needs to be looked at. Not to mention, hey, Grimoire still a 2-minute cooldown, which makes your Tyrant essentially a 2-minute cooldown. That's a debate in itself, and at this point, I mean, it's worth holding for your Grimoire. It just feels awkward. Demonology's baseline toolkit with Decon, Felguard, everything, it's strong, it's there, it's just the tuning is off, the damage is off. Decon's too strong. Portal being a single target talent that you have to sit still for 15 seconds on a 3-minute cooldown that pushes back your Grimoire, its damage is just not there. It needs an even bigger buff, and Sack Souls is just, it's just not where it needs to be. So as far as the portal buffs go, disregarding the Decon, like, you know, baseline build here, it seems that it's relatively close. We burst like, what, 5.6k in our opener with Nether Portal compared to like 6.1, 6.2. Relatively close. It's like a 700 DPS difference. It's a lot better than it was before. We're taking steps in the right direction here, but it still needs a bit more help. I'm not saying nerf consumption, so Portal is your best single target talent, because our damage is still not good. But having a 3-minute cooldown that requires you to plant for 15 seconds, hold CDs, and it just being like 700 DPS behind consumption, which you can cast twice as often in a sense, just doesn't look the best. Nether Portal is an awesome talent, I think, personally, single target, but it still needs a bit more help. But hey, in the end, any changes are welcome changes that are buffs at this point. Thanks for watching, dudes. I wanted to make this video tonight in between all the Shadowlands release hype and the videos I have going at this point too, because some of this stuff had been talked about, some of it hadn't been. I wanted to clarify what was new, what was old, and just what's going on with things as a whole. Now, once again, I mean, I think Demonology still needs more help. I'll take the Nether Portal buff. It's cool. I like Nether Portal, personally, but Decon is just still too strong. Until they end up, you know, removing the Grimoire and Vile Fiend and just making it based off of, like, Imp health and Dreadstalker health and upping the actual modifiers, it's going to be Decon all the way unless they buff Portal to an insane amount. But it is what it is. The actual AF changes, or, you know, the Demon Armor change, and I believe the ID Dispel thing is cool. It'll be helpful. It'll help in PvP, which is awesome. It's legit. I'll take it. Boys, Shadowlands is 10 days away, 10.5 days away at this point. We've got a lot to do. We've got a lot coming down the line. And it's crazy to see tuning at this point, but hey, it is what it is. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Let me know what you guys think of these changes in the comment section below. If you have any questions, drop them down there, and I'd be happy to get back to you. If you guys want to see more WoW content, help support the channel, be sure to smash the subscribe button below and hit the like button while you're down there as well. Thanks again, dudes. I'll catch y'all again soon on stream. Peace.